I thought of a new way to try these recordings, and that is just to continuously add to them as things pop up in the moment instead of making these notes and trying to remember. Because I have these little moments of reflection and epiphany throughout the day, and there's also something. Some would say that you should marinate on something before you share it, and Greg used to say, when you have like a big revelation, like keep it to yourself for a while. My inclination is the exact opposite. It's just to share it because, like I've said, like once I get to the next thing, everything's building on each other. And if I don't share the thing that led me to the next thing, it might not land, or it might not I don't know, it might not assimilate for others. So I'm leaving kind of like a trail of little magic nugget breadcrumbs as I digest them myself, or not digest them, but as I find them, and leaving a little poop trail of magic. No, so two things. Last night, let's see, how do I say this? Okay, so last night I was, okay, so my main inquiry right now is who can I speak to in the invisible world that will give me true information. HPOA is one level, and I do have something to say about that at the end of this segment. And they're all, I'm pretty much only connecting with facets of self, but there are so many. Like, I discover new facets of self all the time, facets of self that I had never considered or heard of, but they give me this kind of, they give me their or I am given the opportunity to create a title for each of them, and so I name them. We create with the word. So these are my own little egregores. Like, obviously I am one being, but I asked, is there a way to speak to, connect with the sum total of all facets? And I got a yes. And then I said, will that bring me the most accurate or beneficial or advancing or expansive answer that is possible? I forget how I worded it, but it was something like that. And I got a no, which I thought was interesting. And so I was not planning on going there. I need to get used to the fact that I just will trail off in different places because that's where I'm inspired to go. So I'm just going to do it. You'll have to bear with me as I keep giving myself shit for this. One of the things that Bonnie taught me was that, okay, so when we're doing the type of soul clearing, so that's what she called it, like a soul level clearing, we are essentially using the correct words and addressing the correct department, if you will, in the unseen realm. Okay, so I can apply that same logic to this. So it's like there may be one facet of myself that is more qualified to answer a certain type of question or a series of questions or a topic. I've yet to really, I don't know. I haven't landed anywhere with that yet. So I was asking that, and so I was trying to figure out the best self to connect with, and I did, and that's not the point of this discussion, or rather monologue. But I asked then, why is the reason that I feel like I'm not able to complete projects, is that due to these conflicting, selves when I do the testing? And I gotta know. And so after a lot of questioning, there's a way, basically, I have to go either to the database or to just my intuition to kind of guide me to an answer that isn't so obvious. So I got that. I'm not going to explain how I got there, but I got the answer, that I have an internal um, negative emotion that is preventing me from completing. And the main reason that I can't complete is that I see too many sides of a thing. And so, 1 minute I'm like, oh, this is the answer. This is how I'm going to proceed. And then I get to, starting it and I see it from another perspective. And so it just keeps tripping me up, where, especially creatively on the computer, I have a hard time with the web, like building the website and wording things and sticking to the words. So I got that it was an issue of wishy-washy. And so I asked, what are the best ways for me to address this? And the first thing I got was to clear it, using the magnet. There's a process of doing that, which I'll record one day soon, hopefully. And then the other thing that I got, and this took a while, was I had to I had to formulate the sentence because it took a fucking while. But it was okay, let's see. I know that wisdom is Sophia. Okay. So that was the sentence that I eventually was able to uncover, and that held the key to unlocking my wishy-washiness. I just got to the farmer's market, so I'm gonna sit here and try to finish this thought, and then I'll do the rest later. So I was thinking about that. So I'm like, okay, through the contemplation of that I'm going, okay. So the word Sophia, in ancient Greek, means wisdom, and the Gnostics, what's the word? They revealed through their mushroom journeys, I guess it is, collective mushroom journeys, that the name of our goddess, our Aeon, is the Aeon Sophia, the Aeon of wisdom. And in the mythology found in the Nag Hammadi, Sophia was the youngest of the 12 Aeons. And, well, that mythology is, it's another thing. But I thought to myself, well, how interesting that she would be named the Aeon of wisdom, being the youngest, because wisdom is only experienced through applied knowledge and time, and yeah, I mean, that's how wisdom comes about. The very word, for me at least, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the very word wisdom implies a person that has really contemplated something and given a lot of time to something and energy to something. And Bear agrees. So why would the youngest Aeon be named Sophia and not the eldest? Well, maybe it's because Sophia, like, that was her destiny, right? It's hers to unveil and reveal through her process. And so I'm going to put a pin in it right now, and I'll be back. So where was I? Wisdom, Sophia. So while I was thinking of that, I thought, so she's gaining wisdom through this creation. She's gaining wisdom through experience. Like, that's her North Star. That's what she's aligning to. And in a way, I think it's what we're all aligning to. It's like, what would be the point other than experience and wisdom than to have an experience like this life in this place at this time, or any time, or any life, or any place really, in the materium. So there's something about aligning to the desire or the North Star of wisdom as a way of, okay, so from where we now stand, there are many different places we can go. And many argue that no matter what path you take, it's the right path. What I would say to that is yes, and there is a most efficient path. For example, when you put an address into Waze, I mean, there are 1,000 ways that you could go. You could make a totally unnecessary left and make a detour and go down this and that rabbit hole and whatever, but there is a most efficient path, and it shows you the most efficient path. Incidentally, that is the point of HBOA. I mean, that is what the whole premise of it is. So by aligning to wisdom, or the goal of wisdom, I think that's something to think about. And that leads me to like just wanting to be totally honest about where I stand with HBOA right now. I'm going to start with a story. So when I was 13, I painted a Ouija board at boarding school. I went to boarding school for a year. I fucking hated it. But I painted this beautiful Ouija board, and my roommate and I would use it, and it would tell us things. It was clear as day. It would give us very clear words, and it would say things that, you know, we were asking silly questions about the boys we liked, things like that, and it gave us very accurate intel. And I don't know how long that went on, but it went on for some time until one day it started to get real weird and real dark, or rather negative, not dark. And so there's this part of me that's in an inquiry about what we're tapping into in the unseen realms, in the invisible world, which is my new terminology for it. And just because it gives you something that ends up being true, see, I don't think that truth means what we think it means. There can be a truth that is painful or hurtful, or, you know, not necessarily the route you want to take, but it still can be true. So maybe truth is not necessarily the right alignment, right? Wisdom is interesting. Let me go back to that for a second. Wisdom is projecting. Okay. Fuck, this is so good. Okay. So wisdom, okay, the high self, okay, the highest available source, is, let's call it a future self. Let's call it a self, even though past, present, and future are simultaneous. It's the aspect of self with the overview, the bird's eye view. That's who we're trying to connect to, at least I am. And that self, one could argue, is the wise self, is the self that can see, that has been through all the things and is on the other side of that. So wisdom is it's arguably a better alignment, or a North Star, if you will. So I have been in this question mark of getting a lot of accurate answers from HBOA, and I'm not saying that it's not right, because it is right, and I've been guided so beautifully and gracefully through my life using that system and that North Star. And right now, I think it's important for me to be asking myself the question, who am I connecting to? Who can I guarantee that the answers I'm getting are really coming from a higher source, or a benevolent source, or a beneficial source, or an yeah, a life affirming source. Because the vision I keep getting is that this astral plane, like, I bring it up often in these recordings. What is that? What is that? Is that the same thing that is being accessed in plant induced or synthetic drug induced experiences? Is that the same plane of remote viewing? Is that the same plane that intuitives are downloading from? I know that on the other side there are both life affirming and life taking forces, just like there are here. Just because it's unseen or invisible does not make it more heart-based or just aligned to the love, light, and truth. And so I've become really distrusting, and I say that in the best way possible. I'm allowed to fucking distrust things. It's okay. I don't need to make it my life. Like, I don't need to like sit in fear all the time because I distrust the unseen forces. No, I mean, but I can also have discernment and decide whether or not something is right for me. And so I would just say that this has been a huge question for me lately. Who and what am I connecting to when I do this work? And how does it compare, quote unquote, compare to the voice within? And is the voice within more true? Well, not necessarily. Okay, I'm doing a little edit here and overwriting where I left off last. To finish that thought, just something to consider, something that I have thought myself is, if everything is energy and there's always some type of exchange. I know we like to think that some things are free, but even nature doesn't operate that way. It's not that I'm saying that there needs to be some sort of financial exchange with, the guides or the energies or anything like that. It's more like everything comes at a cost, whether it's time, your energy, life force, whatever it may be. And when we are praying to or invoking these the other side, especially since they're invisible. I mean, it's the invisible world. So it seems rather naive to think that that's like a perfectly safe thing to do based on what exactly? Based on personal experience? I mean, just because you have a good outcome here doesn't necessarily mean it was free. So I get this picture in my head sometimes now where I think, okay, I'm going to get to the other side when I die, and one day, and there's going to be this tally. There's going to be this like, okay, here's what you owe. We made all your dreams come true. You asked for the help. You didn't necessarily know how to ask correctly or whatever. And so now you owe us all this stuff, because it's like, why should I think that anyone would, I don't know if I'm getting my point across, because I can hear the argument on the other side, just like, we do it out of love and everything is love and the whole universe is love. Yeah, Okay. Okay. I don't really have the energy right now at 11:41 p.m. to debate that other side. I most certainly could, but that's not the point. I'm just offering another facet of the prism. I love doing that. I just want us to think beyond what we believe. Belief is, I just don't know that it always serves us in the way that that we think it does. So what if we get to the other side and yeah, we owe all this stuff to all these beings, and I just don't really want to indebt myself to anything or anyone, which is why I generally will only do this work, this requesting or question asking or whatever. I've started to really move away from calling in those different divisions in the unseen realms and depending more on myself. Now, the whole idea of the higher self, just by the way we're either taught to look at it, or I don't know, maybe it's true, but it is pictured as outside of myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I see it as being larger, bigger, better. I mean, like I said before, like I don't think that that's the case. I think that, we're all working together, and it's all these facets of one, beautiful diamond, and we each serve a different purpose. But so I think that really going within, or however it works for you. For me, it's just, I'm still doing the exploring, whether it's with a pendulum or not, like, with working with these higher aspects of self and navigating what that means. I bring it up so that, yeah, that there's just a consideration and bringing that back in. I mean, asking even the universe or the field. I don't think we really know what this place is, man. I really don't. I really unraveling all, like, even the deepest secrets and the esoteric blah 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 and the symbols and the everything that's come before, even in meditation, even in remote viewing, all of that, it's all still part of the sim, the game, it's all still in the bubble. What's outside of the bubble, you know? And when I say, I really mean it in that instance, not just like a knee-jerk reaction, like, there was something else that I wanted to talk about that I've just totally spaced on. Here, let me pause for a second. Okay, it's a totally different day, and I can't even remember what I was talking about that night. It was late. If I remember correctly, I was a little wah wah out of it. So anyway, like I said, I want to just, as things are happening, I want to record them. So I was drawing a little sketch, and I was drawing the eyes. The eyes are my favorite part of the face to draw, and faces are my favorite thing to draw. And I have been drawing all these eyes into these portals and these paintings I'm doing right now. You can go online to look at them. They're officially my highest form of teaching, I've decided. Like, they are so jam-packed with the things that I can say and that I can't say and all of that. So I've decided that I'm going to start doing the transmissions through the artwork so that they can speak directly to the subconscious, the conscious, the superconscious, bypassing, just the mind and its desire to analyze and categorize, etc. So there's a lot of little eyes that I've been channeling, like, yeah, through my creativity. And I had this thought, people say that the eyes are the window to the soul. Well, the inner eye, that pupil, I guess is what it is the blackest of black and the darkest of dark. Like, when I'm drawing something, it could all be pastel, but I will never not use black, or at least I haven't use black for that part of the drawing or the sketch or the whatever. And that had me just thinking about that. That's such an interesting thing, that the window to the spirit or the soul or both is through this blackness, this darkness, which reminds me of the void, which reminds me of the way people talk about their NDEs, and how often, not in everyone, but often they'll go to this black void of creation. There's something about black holes that somehow are interrelated with this concept. And I can't say that I'm landing anywhere, but I just wanted to acknowledge that thought while it was at the forefront of my mind. Also, this morning when I was waking up, there was a continuation on the You Are My Sunshine. What I saw was that all these facets of myself were a different ray, and they were in different space times or whatever, but they are all a ray that are casting a ray, including me. So not only am I receiving the ray, but I'm also whether I do it consciously or not, I am casting a ray to the others. And that I'm going to have to contemplate a little bit more to see how I can visually like share that knowledge, but or that idea or reality, I don't know. So yeah, I just want to say those things. Let's see what comes next. Okay, next thought. I might have to start numbering these. I was just listening to a very profound near-death experience, and I shared it actually before posting this. And there were a few things that this woman said that hit really deeply, and one of them, so basic, and yet so just like words to live by, that right before she was sent back to her life from the other side, that one of these angels said to her, it's basically, there are two things I want you to remember: to breathe and to not resist anything, or something like that. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again. But breath is life. Breath is life. And I don't mean that lightly. I don't mean that like some cool tagline. Like, I mean it like literally. I remember in my second to last ayahuasca ceremony, like maybe 5 years ago, I kept forgetting how to breathe. And this was in a conversation with the mother, like Earth herself. This is what the whole journey was about. And I kept forgetting how to breathe. And she said, it was like I would choke and stop breathing. And then she would be like, I would hear this yell, like, breathe. And I'd be like, oh. And she said, breath is what separates the living from the dead. Don't forget to breathe. And I don't know, that's profound. So yeah, do that, breathe. I'm going to. I really often believe that that is why I smoked for so long, to remind me to breathe. I hold my breath. I have sleep apnea. I can go minutes without breathing. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, that was just another little thing I wanted to share. New thoughts. I was having a conversation with a friend this morning, and her mood had totally changed. And from what it's been for a while. And the only difference is, I mean, I shouldn't say the only difference is if I know, as if I'm inside of her head. And I'm also not saying that this is specific to her. I'm actually saying that I have experienced this in myself. It just is what brought it to the surface today. Is she is doing well financially? Like, she is in a career where it depends on like clients, which can be a little like volatile and inconsistent. But she was saying that, you know, she had just gotten a couple new jobs, and that's what was she wasn't correlating the two, but I was noticing like that's the only difference. And now she's in a really good mood. And I thought, fuck that. Like, on one hand, I absolutely believe in the power and the energy and the frequency of money as a physicalized representation of our energy output, right? But then on the other hand, it's like we cannot let that shit dictate our moods and how we're going to think about ourselves and feel about ourselves. Now, the other reason specifically with this person that I distrust the source of the joy, if you will, is because I know that the thing that she's doing is not what she actually wants to do. So if she had decided she wanted to be a painter from what she was doing before, right? And like she wasn't, and she had taken that leap and then she had made money, I think that that's different. That's different because it's like confirmation of a forward movement. But in the case where you're actually regressing, like it's almost like an entrapment. It's keeping, now that she's made the money, it's like now she's further trapped into the thing that she doesn't really want to be doing, thinking that that's her only worth. And mind you, she's brilliant and quite genius at this thing that she no longer wants to do. But then again, so was I at dressmaking. No one can make a dress like I can make a dress. But that doesn't mean it's what I'm supposed to do. It doesn't mean it's the limit of my potential. So I just wanted to speak to that and yeah, shine some intel light all up on it. Okay, bye. P.S. I don't know about you, but I'm really liking this new format. It's just like throughout the day when the thing is there, because, you know, I make a note and then like by the time I get to it to actually record, it's like the feeling is different. It's not as clear. It's not as passionate, you know. So I'm digging this. Hopefully it's not too disjointed for the listener. Let me know what you think about that. A few weeks ago on Telegram, oh, I think I'm about to sneeze. Oh dear. No, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay. Doesn't it feel like you're like sitting in the car with me and we're talking? I mean, I'm like this friend that like just does all the talking and doesn't leave any room for you to interject your thoughts. But that is where the comments come into play. Okay, I was gonna say that a few weeks ago I listened to that guy who had the NDE. I posted it on Telegram. I just want you to know that everything in me wants to like go back and edit this out, but like I can't be bothered. Like, I'm not here to put on a show for you. You know what I mean? So the guy had the NDE. He saw God. He like understands the lay of the land, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Cosmology, baby. I dig it. I mean, I dig it. It's his creation, and I think it's beautiful, and maybe it's true, and maybe it's not. He said that we were going into this period where it was going to be like massive lockdown, and that then there was going to be a great flash. We've heard this before, right? So a great flash, and that they were going to tell you to go inside and don't go inside because you really need to be outside and you need to like get those light codes, and that you're going to be like instantaneously like intuitive. And I'm really not selling it. It's a great podcast, so it's worth listening to. I'm just kind of like, doing my thing, making it funny, but it could be like, it feels like there's a reality in which that happens, and then that there would be the great shaking, and all the continents would shift really drastically and very quickly. So he said that at this time we would be moving up. The people who had received that like light upgrade in the solar flash, which could be this April, incidentally. There's a lot of stuff pointing to this coming April 2024, between Cliff and others. I keep mentioning April. And so what if we would move into elevation, and that like we would find our way through intuition to these places up high in the mountains where we would build these like new communal kind of cities, or I don't know, we would build some shit, but not shit, like build some magic. And I just keep thinking about that over and over and over. And I love where I live, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm thinking that this particular location may be the cause of my migraines, because when I've left, I don't get them. Only here. So I'm considering moving, and I don't know where to, and I don't know much more than that, but I'm kind of just putting it out there because it's like there's something that resonates about it, and yeah, let's see what happens. If you guys have any good ideas about cool locations, because you want like a water source, which I think you have naturally with a mountain. I love the idea of living high up in a mountain, and I'm supposed to live in valleys according to human design. That's a very interesting aspect of human design, like where you do best. I'm supposed to be in valleys, but I am in a valley, and it's great. But the other thing with valleys is that all these crazy particles that are being sprayed in the ag and the agriculture and other things are they settle into those valleys, and so I think we're being poisoned even more. And because my valley is a strange one that runs east-west, which is not normal, but it does, for whatever reason, things get like uber trapped in this valley, so that could be something to do with it. Anyway, let me know. Let me know if you know of any good mountain cities. I'm very curious. I just keep thinking of all these things I want to share with you. So there's this theory. I don't even know where I'm going with this exactly, but it came up in the zeitgeist this week. This theory that, like, for anyone who's not into the super woo, I am warning you right now. This is not something you're going to enjoy listening to, probably. Some people think that we actually died and are in like this alternate timeline. And I don't know, like, God, excuse me. There's something about that that's really interesting, because I had a dream 2 nights ago where I may have mentioned this earlier in this round of recording, um, where I died and woke up in like another reality, but not one where I was being born and you know what I mean, like evolving and developing. It was like I died and I was like I died right into the midst of another life. So interesting. So it reminds me of the OA, where they were doing those, if at the time of death they were doing those movements, then that's how they were able to jump to different timelines. And I think I did mention this, like I have this newer thing where I'm downloading that there are these symbols that each of us have that are like the key that unlocks the death process. But something very weird happened in 2012, and I don't know what it is. Some people say that it's like CERN, or maybe they did something at CERN, or like they achieved something in 2012, and then like the whole world kind of like got looped into some new timeline, or I don't know, but shit is fucking weird here. It is weird here. It is a weird place. It's like, looks the same, but then there's just something so weird about it. I don't know, especially if you turn on the news. It doesn't get any weirder than that. But the Mandela effects and all that kind of stuff really started to ramp up, it seems, since around 2012 as well. And I'm not like diving into rabbit holes for no reason. There's really nothing on YouTube that I want to hear anymore. I keep going to it, and I'm just like, enough. If I get one more fucking self-empowerment video with the secrets to alchemy, I'm like, I'm going to cancel my subscription, call it a day. Okay, I'm about to sneeze again, and I'm not going to subject you to that, so I'll stop here for a second. I am now in my car, driving around in search of my dog, who got out and is on a joyride currently. I had a thought I wanted to share. Most people, and I know that at first this is going to sound really obvious and like right, most people look to reason and science to make their assessments and to navigate existence and how things work. But I don't think that those ways will ever get you anywhere, at least anywhere deep. It's almost like science and reason are like level 1. But then when you just break through to another layer, you realize that like none of it actually is true, or rather it can all be defied. And there are too many instances, whether it's ghosts or Mandela effect, or the tumor that disappeared in 3 minutes, or the fact that doctors refuse to acknowledge radical remissions and will tell their patients who have them not to share their stories because it goes against the narrative. And it's inexplicable. So there's so much more. It's like this. Science and reason is like the 1% that we can see. But there's like a whole 99% that we can't. And all of that falls outside, I would say, at least the majority of it, outside of science and reason. And so knowing that this realm and this reality, wherever we are, is not really based in science or reason. Not really. Not fucking really. Holes can be poked in anything. And they are. There are people that debunk all kinds of things that we recognize as true, collectively as truth, like the Big Bang or evolution or, any of that stuff. So yeah, I like to depend on my intuition. And I feel like intuition is meant to help me find whatever my truth is right now. It's so malleable. The whole thing can change and shift so easily and so instantly that it's almost like you're only limited by your own belief system. So it's like you'll only get what you're expanded enough to resonate with. Something like that. And so we're led away from intuition. That tells me that is the very place we should be looking into. I've made an entire study into what I affectionately joke of as the science of intuition. It's like everyone wants the technology of or the science of the thing. I'd rather it's more appropriate to call it a technology really than anything else. Because, well, technology is just a system, sequential system of some kind that has repeated effects, maybe. Although even that's not true. And what is true? I don't even know what true is. Where's my dog? Let's make her appear in the time-space continuum. Anyone listening to this, picture me seeing my dog driving around in a teal blue Silverado, and I see my white dog, and she comes right into the car, and boom, we go home, okay? So even though you won't be listening to this till later, I know that time is not real, and so I appreciate your help. That's it for right now. Bye.